Have you ever wondered how lasagna ended up as a staple in black kitchens? It wasn't cultural, it wasn't tradition. Maybe it was the corner store where you got the meat, or a neighbor who showed you how to make it. It could have been the job that took you across the road and the recipe followed you back. That is how it ended up as a staple, through proximity, experience, and habit. This is the story of black kitchens and lasagna. It wasn't ours, but we made it enough times that it might as well have been. If you enjoy good food and a good story, subscribe to the channel. Well, let's get started. So how did this happen? Where did it happen? Probably during periods of the Great Migration from Southern blacks north in the United States and the influx of Southern Italian immigrants, both attracted to large cities and the same neighborhoods. So it was familiarity, it was closeness, proximity. That's where it happened. And what I'm going to do today is show you the way I make lasagna that is influenced both by the black kitchens and the Italian culture, the Italian-American traditions. So I've got a lot to do. We're going to make our own ragu. We're going to use a true soffritto. It's onion, celery, carrots. We're going to sweat that down. We're going to start with pancetta, actually, and we'll start that and render that out. And as I say, there's a lot of ingredients here, but they're things you should have in your pantry, either fresh or dried. You know, I'm going to be using some tinned tomatoes, things that you have on hand. I've got pasta you might have dried, I have fresh. I didn't make it, but I bought it, and that's okay. So this really is a dish that has a lot of elements, but it has a frugality about it still. So I've talked long enough. I'm going to start by cubing our pancetta. And I want to get that in our pan. It's a cold pan. And we're going to render enough fat so we can start to sweat our onion, carrots, and celery, our soffritto. Now, okay, I'm just going to take this and add this to our dry pan and turn it on. I'm going to start that on a fairly high heat, and as it starts to render out the fat, we'll reduce that. So this is the way I like to start. And you don't have to use pancetta. You could use bacon, really whatever you have on hand. If you don't have any of it, then just some olive oil. So as that is, oh, and I have some wine. We're going to use that later. Might have some for the chef. But while that is starting to render, we're going to start on a soffritto. Now I'm lowering that down so it can go slowly. And I'm just going to grate everything together. You could chop it finely, dice it finely, but I think this is faster. So I'm using one medium onion that I've halved. And as I say, I'm just going to grate this. And to that, we'll also grate in our celery. And I like it this way because it also pulls off those strings. Those come back, and you don't have to have those in your pan. Very clever, isn't it? Because we have a lot to do, we want to make sure that we are economical with our time. So I'll go ahead and get this all grated in. I just want to remind you, as always, you can find a link in the description box to the full recipe that you'll find on my website, www.garysurbanlarder.com. Just checking on our pancetta, and I'm going to add just a little olive oil to our pan and increase the heat. Started to get some color to that pancetta, and it's starting to release its fat. Now, you know, some of us saved bacon grease. You use bacon grease if you like. Has a nice salty richness, and it again works with the frugality of a lasagna recipe. Okay, now I've got our soffritto. Just gonna add those grated carrots, onion, and celery. So there. Give that a good stir. And we want the water to release, and we want these to break down. We don't need the onions to brown a lot, but we want them to soften. And to help that along, I'm just going to give a little pinch of salt. Now this could take about 5 minutes. You don't want to rush it. Again, this is where we're building our flavor. The soffritto gives the structure and the backbone to our ragu. And I do prefer making my own ragu. I think it's a lot better than what you can get in a jar. But if you have a different approach, let me know in the comments. I'd really like to know. Okay, I'm going to continue to sweat this. And when it's ready, we're going to remove it from the pan, and we'll use the same pan to brown our meat. And by the way, I'm using a mixture of beef and Italian pork sausage, a ratio of 2:1 by weight. So 1 pound of ground beef, 20/80, and half a pound of the pork. Okay, we've sweated our vegetables, and I'm just going to remove these to a bowl. You can see the bit of fond that's on the bottom of the pan. That's fine. We want that. We're going to deglaze the pan after we sear our meat. That goes back on. Increase our temperature and maybe a touch of olive oil. There we go. And we add our meat. And we're going to put that in, and we're not going to touch it. We want it to sear. We want it to get some browning. I'm going to give that a press down. And as that begins to brown, then we'll break it up. So we really just want to get that sear on our meat before we turn it. So just have a little patience and it'll reward you. Now this Ragù is going to cook slow and low for about 2 to 3 hours. I know. That's why you don't make it every day. Weekend, special occasion, maybe a wedding. So I'm just going to continue to brown off our meat, and then we'll add back the soffritto. We have browned our meat, and the next thing I want to do is add some tomato paste. About 2 tablespoons, at 30 milliliters. And we want to cook that. So I've cleared a little spot in the pan, and that is starting to cook. And now I'll mix it all together. I'm going to add in our soffritto. Mix that all together. And this is where we deglaze the pan. We've got a glass of wine. I'm adding a full glass of wine. And we want to cook that to remove all of the alcohol, and we want it to almost evaporate before we add our chopped tomatoes. And I am using a polpo, which is basically a chopped tomato. This is, I think it's an Italian brand, but anyway, there are 2 cans, 2 tins of it that we're going to add. Now, you want to season just a little as you go. We have what is going to become a bouquet garni. This is a rind of the parmesan, a Parmigiano Reggiano. I think that's correct. Some of you can tell me if I'm wrong. But I was saying about the bouquet garni. I've got 2 cloves of whole cloves of garlic, got some sage, thyme, sprig of rosemary, a couple of bay leaves, and some cracked black peppercorns. So those are going to go in, and those will add our seasoning. Now, if you have like Italian seasoning, things you want in a jar that you have in your cabinets, in your cupboards, go ahead. I won't be offended, but this is the way I make my ragu. And it takes time, takes care, full investment of time. So while that's reducing, I'm just going to smash with the palm of my hand, with the peel, the skin on, and that just goes into the bouquet. So I'm just going to fold that up, and this just to make it easier for us to remove at the end. And there's our garni. So that can go in as we're reducing the fat. And that's just a bit of cheesecloth that's wrapped around. And at this point, I think I'm also going to grate in just a little bit of nutmeg. Most of the nutmeg will go into our Béchamel sauce. Now, I prefer doing a Béchamel as opposed to ricotta with egg, but you do you, yeah? So I'm just going to add fresh grating of our nutmeg. And you want this to reduce the liquid till it's almost dry before we add our tomato. The liquid has evaporated quite a bit. I'm going to reduce that. I'm going to add our 2 cans of chopped tomatoes. And the best thing to do is to rinse that out. And I have some beef stock. Just going to use a little bit of that. 1 can to the other. You want to get all of that goodness. And that goes in. Along with some more stock. And might not be deep enough. We'll see. And we want that to just bubble. We don't want this to boil vigorously. It's going to be simmer. So we're going to lower this. We're going to cover it. And we're going to cook it for 2 hours, maybe 3. And that's our ragu. We'll leave the lid slightly open. And, oh, good promise. Almost forgot the rind. Pop that in. That'll add some umami flavor into your ragu. So the next thing we'll do is we'll prep our pasta and our bechamel sauce. I have a pot of boiling water. I'm just going to reduce that just a bit. I just want it slightly boiling, not overly. And we're going to blanch our fresh pasta. Now, if you're using dried, you can cook it according to the package instructions, but I'd cook it a little less, maybe 2 minutes less, and then take it out into a cold water bath, which is what we're going to do. These are only going to be here about a minute, no longer than that. And we're going to do a bit at a time so we don't overcook them. And once those have been blanched, we will take them out into our water bath so that we stop that cooking. And we'll do the next batch. So we'll get this all blanched, and then I'll show you what we do to let them dry. Okay, the last of our pasta sheets are blanched. So again, we just want to remove those to our cold water bath. Just want to take these off, and I'm putting them on a sheet tray that I've lined with parchment and have drizzled on a little olive oil. And that will help our pasta not to stick together. So I'll just spread these out, getting off the excess water onto our pan, a little olive oil, and that's it. So the next thing we'll do in terms of our lasagna is to make the bechamel. Now we're going to make our bechamel. And I'm just going to start by melting our butter. That's about 6 tablespoons, 80 grams of butter. And just want that to melt. And we have an equal amount by weight of plain flour. And once the butter is melted, we will cook in the flour to make a roux. Just gonna add a pinch of salt. I'm using unsalted butter. Let's do that. And I have a little nutmeg, which will also grate in. And those are the seasonings, all the seasonings in the Béchamel, which is just the white sauce. So I've also have a liter of milk that is warmed, which will add to the roux to make the Béchamel. And now we'll add our flour. I think you all know the basics of making a roux. So it's just butter, equal parts by weight, butter and flour. And you want to cook that until the flour is no longer raw. So you just want to keep stirring that until it just changes color a bit. I have our warmed milk, and I've cooked out the rawness of the flour. So now I'm going to switch from my wooden spoon to a whisk. That would just help incorporate the milk into the roux. So I'm just going to do that little by little. Making sure I get the corners of our pan. A little more milk. And now, I'll actually grate in our nutmeg. Now, you can use already ground nutmeg, but if you can grate it yourself, it's really best in terms of flavor. So I'll continue to cook this until the roux thickens our sauce. Adding the rest of that milk. Our sauce is starting to thicken, and just keep whisking. We'll make sure we get all the edges. We don't want it to burn. Don't want it to steak. Using a Béchamel is more typical of Northern Italy. I know a lot of my family prefer using cottage cheese or ricotta in the lasagna, and you can do that, but this is true to that Northern Italian tradition. Our Béchamel is thickening. We want to make sure that the Béchamel is thick, but not overly thick, because it will tighten up as it cools. That is the consistency you're looking for. It's a bit like melted cheese that's starting to cool. This will go into the lasagna in layers, as well as top it. And that is done. We have our sauce, and we now just want to finish that off. This has been cooking very low for 2 hours. Just increase the temperature a bit. And I'm going to add in some whole milk, just a little at a time. Now this is optional, but it helps balance the acidity, and it just makes a beautiful, creamy, and delicious sauce. So now's the time to taste it and see if we need to adjust for seasoning. That is absolutely perfect. I won't add any more salt because we're going to use the Parmesan cheese in the layers, which in itself is quite salty. But that is absolutely ready to go. So it's time we can assemble our lasagna. Okay, we're organized. The first thing I want to do, I'm going to give our Béchamel. Yeah, as that cooled, that's really thickened to the right consistency. So just give it a little whisk. And we're going to need a ladle. So the first thing we'll do is to take some of our beautiful ragu, a couple of spoonfuls, and put that on the bottom of our dish. And now I have our pasta, which has been covered, resting, and cool. And we're just going to start layering. There's one layer. Or one sheet. Next sheet. And I'm actually going to take a third and I'm going to split it because I want to make sure we have a good layer of pasta. Put a piece there, and here, and here. And then we're going to put more sauce. I wish you could smell this. This is just really smells delicious. Okay. And now we're going to add some of our bechamel. And just like you would if you were using ricotta and egg or cottage cheese, you just want to dot that onto that layer. And I like to just take my microplane and grate the Parmesan generously on top. Now, we add more pasta. We just repeat. We have our final layer and the last of our ragu. Just get this on top. It works so hard, I'm going to use every bit of it. Here. Get that just spread over the pasta here. And now we will top it with, oh, there's still more on there. There we go. With our bechamel. Just going to give that a quick whisk, and I've thinned it just a bit because it does tighten up, as I say. And I'm just going to pour that over the top of our pasta before adding some more Parmesan. You can see we've used nearly all of this. So now at this stage, you could just freeze this until you need it, or refrigerate it. Refrigerate it a couple of days. It'll freeze for up to 2 weeks. And then you can cook it when you need it. So there's our lasagna, ready to go into our moderately hot oven. Look at that. That is beautiful. It smells absolutely delicious. Now we just need to let this set for at least 15 minutes, preferably 30 minutes, half an hour, And then we'll cut it, we'll plate it, and we'll see how it tastes. It's beautiful. Well, it has rested, and I really can't wait. So I'm just going to cut into this and take a nice corner of this lasagna. Try to get it all the way through. And now lift it out. Look at all the beautiful layers. Isn't that just fantastic? I'll just plate that. And that is lasagna just the way I like it. All the different layers, you can see it. Just beautiful, gorgeous. I tell you, there's something to be said for proximity and learning and adopting a new dish. Definitely not appropriation. Definitely something wonderful that's come across cultures, communities, to my plate. So let's give it a taste. I don't know which side to cut. Oh. Oh, beautiful. This is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. That ragu that we labored over for so long, really wonderful. I can't stop eating it. Well, thank you for joining me today at Gary's Urban Larder. If you enjoyed today's recipe, please give us a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel. It's free. And ring that notification bell so you don't miss a single delicious recipe. And finally, please share this video with your friends and help to build our community. And if you see a hype button, please hype me. And until next time, bye-bye. It's a great, great dinner.